what you put out, you'll get back. At the beginning of this year, I wouldn't say I had much spirituality, but now I get it, because now God to me is the universe and this energy, whether you call it chi, prana, God, there is a life force, right?
And when we talk about attracting things, for me, that manifested in double pneumonia. But all of a sudden it was like, I'm okay. And I kind of just gave in. And no joke, Adam, within 48 hours of me making that decision, my blood work changes.
And it's about a lady who had terminal cancer. She basically cured herself of cancer within like 4 weeks or something. It's a crazy story. It's conditioned out of us that we have this spiritual energy.
You know, initially people were talking about the law of attraction. You could just sit on your sofa and expect, you know, if you say money flows to me,
yeah,
then just all this money will pile through the door. And I think people on a subconscious level were like, you know, initially people were talking about the law of attraction. Then I think people got a little bit confused by it and they felt that that can't work because, you know, things like The Secret gave the impression that you could just sit on your sofa and expect, you know, if you say money flows to me,
yeah,
then just all this money would pile through the door. And I think people on a subconscious level were like, nah, this just doesn't feel right. And then we sort of understood, I think, that the law of vibration really is the primary law and the law of attraction is kind of secondary to that. And so you can work on your vibration. And I think a lot of it when you're giving and you're coming from a place of love is really connecting you with your higher vibrations, if you like. But then I also think for people that feel really agnostic about this and they feel like that's unwieldy and kind of feels a bit out of control and how can I actually do that? You're not always going to feel on a super high vibe. I think it's just understanding that if you can get this right most of the time and you can start to control your thoughts and develop what we call positive expectancy, it makes you more resilient. And if we look at the most successful people in the world, whether those are athletes or artists, they have about them this thing that they're expecting good things to happen. Even though the basketball player misses way more shots than they ever make and we only remember the really good ones, they have that positive expectancy, and then that's what we see. And I think that's one of the most important parts that I learned as part of this process, and then kind of going off and reading. And you know what it's like, I like to kind of swarm read, if you like. So you kind of read something here, something there, and then you pull these ideas together, and the more you hear it, the more it starts to resonate and you feel like you're deepening your understanding. And I'm still massively learning. You know, it's completely different from kind of the background I came from, but I think it starts to make more sense. And then you get to that point where you think, actually, if I can embody this. And so for me now, it's all about thinking, regardless of whether I consciously do this or not, I am creating my future self. That is just a reality. Everything that I do is creating my future self. And so whether it's, you know, I know we're going to talk about biohacking, nutrition and health and things like that later, but whether you're thinking about what you're putting in your mouth, whether it's a good behavior or bad behavior, the thoughts that you think, whether you're going to exercise, whether you're going to be disciplined and go to bed and not procrastinate on sleep, all of those things eventually are going to show up and manifest in your future self and your future life. And that's a really big and powerful thing, because I think when you realize that actually I'm in control of my destiny and I need to show that self-respect and self-love to create the future that I want. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I love that. Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. And if you listen to Elle Nightingale, Bob Proctor, all of those guys, there's so many great authors from that era. And even before, right? They're just, you got Neville Goddard. Like,
amazing.
These guys worked it out like nearly 100 years ago. But all of them say the same thing. And it's basically, we are what we think about, right? And when we really understand that and we start to acknowledge that, well, if we are what we think about, let's start thinking about what we want to become and excluding what we don't want to become or what we don't want to see. So it's things like, I always knew that, but the news is a bit negative, isn't it? Oh God, that's another thing to worry about. And as I start to do this work, I realized that people that are successful, they're not listening to like the outside noise. They're all just working from within, and they're focusing on all of the what do they call them? The mental faculties. So the imagination, intuition, reason, all of these different tools. So that's been really interesting for me. And I like what you're saying about, I think you said expected positive outcome. Yes, that to me is around kind of belief, kind of transmuting into faith.